this is one of our textbooks in International Studies 370, and I just want to read a little something from it. And I quote: President Sadat initiated the war against Israel in 1973 with a clear political goal. From a purely military standpoint, the war appeared to go badly for Egypt, with Israeli troops ending in possession of territory on both banks of the Suez Canal. Yet diplomacy and military pressure of the following years did lead to a peace settlement. It basically goes on to say that the reason why Sadat started the war was to regain the Suez Canal and the Sinai, and that he also says that basically he agrees with you with Lebanon, but not with the 56, 67, and 73 wars. The writers David W. Ziegler. I just want to comment on that.
Fine, I'm happy to comment on it. So what does the record show? As you know, in June 1967, Israel conquers not just the West Bank and Gaza, but it also conquers the Golan Heights and the Egyptian Sinai. And those are also territories acquired by war. In February 1971, President Sadat, just to give you a quick background, I know I'm exhausting your patience, but I want to give a full answer. After the June 67 war, and UN Resolution 242, a special mediator is appointed by the United Nations to try to resolve this conflict. And this mediator is a fellow named Gunnar Jarring from Sweden. And Gunnar Jarring goes to the Egyptians, the Israelis, okay, how do you want to solve this conflict? And the Egyptians say, we want our territory back. And the Israelis say, we want Egypt to recognize us. Egypt says, we'll deposit a document in the UN saying we recognize Israel, but we're not going to have any formal recognition. No treaty. Israel says, okay, and we're not leaving. But then in February 1971, Sadat says, okay, we will sign a treaty with Israel if Israel withdraws from the Sinai. And Jarring says, okay, now we have some movement, and he goes to the Israelis. And he says, Sadat has now agreed to your terms. It will sign a separate formal treaty with you. And what do you say? And the famous answer of the Israeli cabinet in February 1971 was, quote, we will not return to the June 4, 1967 borders. Well, at that point, Sadat says, then we're going to go to war. The Israelis say, these Arabs, they don't know about war. Look what happened in June 67. These Arabs, they don't know how to fight wars. The famous nickname that the Israelis gave to the Arabs, they called them, literally, they called them monkeys. That's how they thought, or what they thought of Arabs. 1971, 1972, Sadat says, we're going to go to war. Israelis say, it's never going to go to war. Then Utant, he's the Secretary General of the United Nations, and Utant says, look, if you don't withdraw from those territories in exchange for a peace treaty, then you're courting a war. Israelis say it's never going to happen. And well, in fact, that was probably the most publicly broadcast war in the history of the world. For 2 years, Sadat said, that's what we're going to do. And in October 1973, he did it. Now, bear in mind, not one country in the world, not one, including the U.S., Kissinger said it. I did not condemn Egypt for aggression. Why? Because he has the right to recover his territory. He never attacked Israel. All he did was move troops from the West Bank to the East Bank of the Suez Canal. That's not Israel. That's the Sinai Peninsula. That's called Egyptian territory. There was no attack on the state of Israel, and so nobody in the world ever conceived that as a war of aggression, leaving aside the fact that Egypt had the right to do what it had to do in order to get its sovereign territory back, which Israel said it was not going to do. At that point, the older people in the room will remember Israel was building the settlements in the northeast Sinai and was saying that it intended to keep 1/3 of the Sinai, and it got a war.